We have Jet. We're here talking about the Shadows of Corruption fan film.
Okay.
So
There, we got that figured out.
I'm sorry. I'm still like oohing and awing over this promise ring that Jet gave. Yeah, you can unmute.
I can finally unmute. Okay.
That's just awesome. She's got a Lord of the Rings band on. I know. Is that not amazing?
It's totally amazing. I'm a little bit jealous.
Yeah. Anyway, so Shadows of Corruption.
Here we go.
What is it?
Shadows of Corruption is a fan film based off of the Knights of the Old Republic era in Star Wars. And we started filming it back in, I think, 2010. And we've just barely gotten around to getting time to finishing the edit. And so we're expecting to have a release at the end of the month for part 2.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So, what was the inspiration for coming up with a fan film off of the Knights of the Old Republic era? Because that really began
Because it's awesome.
2004, 2003, 2004, or something around there.
Yeah, I actually participated in a Star Wars fan film festival in San Diego every single year. And the next year I went over, I was like, I want something that's more my personality, something that's dark and gritty and real, And Knights of the Republic kept screaming in the back of my mind. I was like, that's dark. That's as dark as you get, as far as the Star Wars universe. And so I told myself as I was leaving the film festival in 2009 that someday I'm going to come back here with the Knights of the Republic film, and we're going to kick some butt with it. So we started filming in 2010, and we got a really positive response when we released our first trailer. It's almost at 1 million views right now.
Oh, wow.
And we're getting a lot of support from our fans.
So what kind of support do you have then when you're putting together a movie like this? Do you just have people who just happen to have the editing software? Do you just happen to know people who have
just
cameras?
happens to know Neff and the entire
Yeah,
Mandalorian
the Mandalorians helped a ton. As far as all the technical stuff went, I'm an independent filmmaker, so you have to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
So all of that technical stuff, it came out of my mind, my pocket, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As far as the costumes and the support on that end, I'm part of the Alpine Garrison, which is a branch off of the 501st. So it was easy to get people excited to make these costumes, to get the Mandalorians involved at the Crate Clan here in Salt Lake. And overall, it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have so much support from the fan base out here in Utah.
Yeah. So how quickly did that take to drum up? When you send out the word, and was it like instantaneous? Where they're like, sign me up?
Their enthusiasm was a lot like that, especially Neff and Sean McPeak and all those guys out there. They were right on board from the day I asked them to be.
Nice.
To get the entire crew together, we had around a little bit over 100 people involved, and that took about 9 months to gather.
Okay. If I remember, Dart was one of the extras.
Yeah.
One of the Jedis or something that got killed.
He gets his throat slit by
Oh, that's right.
Mandalorian.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Good old Dart.
He was a lot of fun to work with. All of them were. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so you said you're an independent filmmaker, so this obviously isn't your first, at least, foray into filmmaking at all.
Oh, no.
No?
Yeah, I've been doing this for about 5 years professionally.
Okay.
I started working just as an intern in commercials and stuff like that, and eventually I gathered enough knowledge to go do it on my own. And I just love doing Star Wars films. Every year I was like, filmmaking isn't worth it unless I can do one Star Wars film a year, otherwise it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So every year I would do at least one Star Wars fan film and put it on the net, and people seemed to really enjoy them. And then finally I was like, let's do the big one. This is what we've been preparing for. Let's do Knights of the Old Republic.
And go full in. So are we looking at a full feature length, or is this like a short?
It depends on what happens with this one, the audience reaction with this one. We originally wrote the series to be a full-length film, and we decided to shoot it in separate parts. Now, as of right now, we only have parts 1 and part 2 shot. And it ends on a real cliffhanger climax kind of thing. We're hoping that's enough to get people interested in becoming involved to get the next 4 parts done. So it's written in 6 parts.
All right.
That's what we're looking at.
So then when it comes to putting together a franchise license like this, like such as Star Wars, have there been like legal problems along the way? I would presume that if something like this gets high profile enough,
yeah,
Lucasfilm's going to step in and be like, Yeah, we want to cut that.
I don't know. Lucasfilm's kind of been supportive of fan films over the last few years.
They're actually the ones that put on the fan film festival out in San Diego every year. This was the first year that it didn't happen because they had a partnership with, I think, Comedy Central, and they merged with Atom Films, the people that were hosting it.
Oh, okay.
And so until they get that all figured out, it's kind of in the air. But once they come back, I'll be there,
Okay.
But as far as Lucasfilm support, it's actually been quite positive. Every year Lucas himself would judge the films at the end, all the finalists. So he's actually seen 4 or 5 of my movies, which is like I threw myself off.
Yeah, that's one of our white whales. Yeah, that'd be awesome. One day, he's sitting there.
Oh yeah, one of the first ones I did. I didn't know he was going to be a judge, but I did a pretty big middle finger towards George Lucas himself. And then when I found out the judge, I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no.
But no, that's what it is. I wish something would come out new.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Seeing this, it was really fun. It was entertaining, and it was kind of that gritty, dark feeling. Like you were
something
trying
that
to go
explored a very different side.
And one of my favorite characters
that does not get exposed in the Star Wars universe. I mean, it's only glimpsed at in some of the official canon stuff. Like the first time I can recall seeing anything remotely gritty was when Republic Commando came out. The video game came out there. That was gritty, and I'm like, now that I would like to see. I would love to see that more in a film.
Oh yeah.
And now you're taking that and you're exploring that sort of I don't want to say like visceral kind of side, but just something that is not. Yeah, it borderlines that sort of thing, as visceral as Star Wars gets.
Well, back when we were writing the film, we were saying, it needs to have something more real, something darker. So we based the entire screenplay off of the Force power in Knights of the Republic, the Fear Force power. That disables your enemy because they're so overwhelmed by terror. And we're like, how cool is that? That the Sith can get into the minds of these people enough for them to lower their arms and just freak out about what's going on in their heads. And so as you see the second part, you're going to notice a lot more of how Revan utilizes the mind rather than the spirit. And it's very interesting. I always thought Revan was one of the most impacting Sith Lords to ever walk the galaxy, and that's why we chose him.
Well, I would love to see Lucas go back and make a film in that era. I mean, that is a really good era to play with.
Yeah.
I mean, we've gotten all these books, all these comics, all this extended universe stuff, and yet he keeps throwing more crap into the 6 movies. Like, let's just give it up.
With all due respect, I don't think I want Lucas to make a film in that era. I actually prefer that we have production companies like Seaichfilms doing this, because the number one problems that people have, it's the fans that have the problem.
Yeah.
Lucas keeps going there, let's go ahead and let's put a Doug crawling through Jabba's palace because that'll tie everything together. And Wicket blinks now, just so you know. We don't need him to touch the universe in naughty places anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I would say we need Lucas at all, Lucas per se to touch it, but just Lucas Arts or Lucas Films to go in there. Different director, different director, but just produced under the Lucasfilms banner.
Look at Empire Strikes Back, the one and only one that Lucas has not directed, and it's probably the most famous and favorite. I could probably sit here and almost everyone probably says that's their favorite. Yeah. Yeah.
I second that emotion.
It's great.
I heard it.
It is great. So
that's why we stood up and we were like, hey, we're sick of this. We want good material, and if we got to do it, then by darn, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so we decided to go out without a budget and do the best that we could with the fans that were passionate about it as well. And so we're hoping that gathers enough interest by everybody, even production companies saying, look, the audience is out there. The trailer alone almost has 1 million views. Hand this out to the right people, or I'm not saying anything, and hand it to me, maybe, I don't know. But, we want something like that. We want something fan-oriented,
Yeah, something that will appease the actual fan base and not the filmmaker.
Oh, yeah, they can make as much money as they want off of, 7 to 9-year-olds with the Clone Wars and stuff like that. But when it really comes to films that stick to a generation, it's like the films back in the 70s and 80s. Those are the ones that are going to be iconic forever.
Yeah.
We need more of that.
More of that sort of iconicisim.
Less remakes, less additions,
Right.
and something fresh and new. And
So,
Yeah.
I mean, now going back to you said you're dealing. I mean, your cast is almost entirely fan base. Is it almost entirely?
Yes
completely?
and no. You know, a lot of them were fan base. A lot of them came on board because they were passionate about Star Wars, the whole universe. There were some that I had to go out and venture for the right person. You know, I had to go do many screen tests to find people that would fit the part. I couldn't just go out and find anybody for Atten or anybody for Bastila. You know, I had to go out and find them and make sure that they would be dedicated to the project. I actually found Emily Starr out in Ogden, and she was a thespian out there or something like that. And she did really, really good. So we brought her into the film, and then literally like a month after the film was online, and I'm not saying it's because of our film, but she started, like, she had her face on buses and stuff out in Ogden. You know, she became this really big name out there as far as acting. And it's really interesting to see that, you know, if you go out there and you apply yourself, you can find the talent, you know, where it's hidden.
Right. So, was this a common problem though? Was when you're dealing with a fan base in general, especially on something like a film? Did you find yourself constantly being kind of attacked? Basically, like, this wouldn't be like that.
I'm going to actually let my visual effects editor answer a couple of these questions, too. He has a good idea of a good response to this. Okay, I'll go for it, Cam.
so basically, it's recording them on film and blowing them up. That's the response.
Basically, yeah. We even had a response to the critics on one of our movie reviews when we did Woman in Black. We just blew Jared's head up on camera just so that we could appease the fans that were so angry about the inaccuracies, quote unquote, that we had put into the film. I mean, we got threads on our video going for paragraphs on paragraphs about how Bastila wouldn't really be that dark, and you know, all these different force powers were being used wrong, and all these things, and it became like this political discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Like you could have divided the fans in half, and then just literally they would probably be willing to fight to the death over these minuscule little details.
You don't screw with Star Wars.
No, you don't.
No, I guess not. But I mean, but that says something a good deal though, that you undertook this project in such a bold manner that you're saying, screw what the fans say. This is what I envision Star Wars being. You know, if you have a problem with it, go ahead and post here. But I'm still making this movie.
You know,
what do you
applies
respond
in
to
a couple of ways. You know, like a couple of the responses we got were from things out of our control. You know, like the Mandalorians didn't have the correct era armor, and that's just because we didn't have a budget.
Right.
We had
Yeah.
zero.
So you had to go with what you had.
Yeah. So if we had money, we would have been able to dress that.
Sure.
There's other things like Bastila being dark that I felt were a bit accurate towards the universe. You know, because Bastila isn't a goody two shoes.
No,
you know?
and it was a time of war.
Yeah, and it's just like you do what you need to do to survive.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, there are some things that are interpreted through my writing and through my directing, but that's the whole point of a film. You know, that's the whole point of seeing this person's interpretation of the story. You know, and I feel that we've gathered a good audience of people that like stuff like that. You know, like in the film, if you haven't seen it, there's a part where Bastila force pushes one of the Jedi back, and she jumps up, does this epic leap, and then she lands, putting her hand on the Jedi's or on the Sith's head, and then she force pushes it into the ground, and there's a little spurt of excess after that. That was one thing that we had a lot of complaints about. You know, or she makes a Mandalorian kill himself with a blaster. Yeah, herself with a blaster. But I feel that, you know, that's stuff that you would have to resort to sometimes. You know, if there's a lot of people coming at you, it's like, well, this isn't quite kosher, but bam, you know, that's all you got to turn to.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, it also kind of opens it up to show how Malak could have turned her to the dark side later on.
Yeah, this is the origin. This is before the game, you know. So we're trying to explain why some of the characters did what they did. Yeah. You know, we're trying to explain Revan's personality, his character development as well. And even Atten, you know, Atten had a lot of history before the first game. You find him in kind of a transition in the second game. And so we wanted to show his backstory as well. So, yeah, there will be some fans that will disagree. Yeah. But ultimately, I think the audience that appreciates it are the ones that, you know, I'm going to be happy to see give me a stamp of approval.
And so would that be the official response to all the Oh, like,
all
you
the
can't
trolls?
do that. Yeah.
Oh no, all the trolls can just go screw themselves. That's fine.
Well, I mean, you're going to find the purists. You're going to find the people that think they know it all. You know, you're not going to be able to appease everyone. I mean, that's just the truth of it. It's such a huge galaxy and such a huge, thing that you're never going to make everyone happy.
So what I was saying is that there's a danger. I like respecting canon to a certain degree, but there's a danger in remaining completely pure, because what ends up happening is that you end up telling the exact same story over and over again instead of expanding the universe. The fan fiction universe is the expanded universe. And I kind of agree with your sentiment. People who are going to persecute you because of Puritan beliefs concerning an imaginary universe need to just sort of shut up a little bit and allow you to expand the universe a little bit more.
Well, I think bottom line is this is still a film, and filmmaking to a degree is the interpretation from a director of a screenplay. Even if the screenplay was written by me, it is my vision, and people who can jump on board with that, great. It's not like we're completely turning our back on canon, that we're not turning our back on Star Wars at all.
Yeah.
This is just a different interpretation of it. So just the same as the 1977 A New Hope versus The Empire Strikes Back. It's completely different as far as the mood, but a different audience will appreciate it more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and not only that, just because there's a small variation in a force power is not that big of a deal. Really, just you look at the games and, each game that's come out, the force powers are a little bit different, a little bit more modified. Force push is different than how it was in the previous game. It's okay. It's not a big deal. And who says that a Jedi back in the Old Republic isn't tweaking, learning different ways to use their force abilities?
No one's saying that we can't,
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe in the next game, there will be a force brain explode option.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's in there somewhere.
Yeah,
but,
they got to have that.
But there's 9-year-olds watching, so we can't do that.
Oh yeah, and I would definitely like to add that.
Yeah.
This film isn't really meant for the younger Clone Wars audience. This is more for an adult, maybe teenage audience, that can appreciate
like PG-13.
Yeah, this
like a hard
PG-13.
PG-13.
This is the Dark Knight of, the Batman movies. It's still fun, but it's got a bit of disturbing content, a little bit, as far as the Star Wars universe is concerned.
Yeah. So it's a little closer to Revenge of the Sith, but actually, if they were going for revenge,
not quite as hysterical. No.
Yeah. I